So, welcome to the 2 o'clock session, Unlock Your Potential in Intune, 10 admin secrets revealed. So we will share our best tips and what we actually think everyone should do in Intune for the next 45 minutes, right, Ronni?
Exactly.
My name is Jörgen Nillson. I live in Malmö, Sweden, and I'm in Sweden they call us Danes because we were actually part of Denmark for many years. And in Denmark, they don't want to have anything to do with us either, actually. So there's actually a group trying to dig us out of Sweden, so we float around on our own. So that's where I live. And with me, I have my dear friend Ronni.
Yes. And even if we have been fighting against the Swedes for centuries, today I'm really honored to have Jörgen with my side today. Most of all because I've been sick for the last 4 days. So if I lose my voice or if I pass out on stage, I'm really happy to have someone who can take over on my session.
I will do that, no problem.
So I'll probably sound a little bit weird and all that, but I'll try to make it to the end of the session. So
well, probably not more than usual, so it's fine.
My name is Ronni. I'm a Microsoft MVP for 18 years. Been doing all kind of device management for 30 years, more or less like Jörgen. And what we're trying to do here is just to share some of the experiences that we have seen over the last many years working with Intune and customers and do's and don'ts. So hopefully you'll get something out of the session, and hopefully we'll have some fun doing it. So before we start with the technical stuff, I would like to share or talk a little bit about some of the strategies around working with Intune. Most customers that I've been working with have started in a hybrid environment and moved on to the cloud. But what I would highly recommend now is that you also focus on getting away from your on-premise when it comes to the device, and simply just get your device registered directly into your cloud environment. There is simply no excuse, and I'll get into the details around why this is important. I'll also talk a little bit about licensing, because Intune might be a device management tool, but at the end of the day, we work with security, and we need security insights in order to make intelligent decision and work with our management. So just the Intune license won't do it for you. So if you want to manage everything in a proper way, we need to buy a little bit more than that.
Who in here is cloud native already?
On the device, only the device.
Yeah, of course.
A couple of
will take
yes.
I will retire before.
Yeah. Why is it important and why should we do it? Well, by definition, when you join a machine to your on-premise Active Directory, it will have an identity. That identity can be abused and, be vulnerable and be used to access resources. So by simply joining the device to your intra, you simply don't have that environment anymore, and you don't have to worry about that. Also, with conflicts, of course, and infrastructure and all that, that's kind of an easy thing that you don't need to manage all of the infrastructure to manage the device on-prem. But all the policies and conflicts that you both have from group policies, Intune policies, SCCM policies, or whatever you're using, is just making life a lot easier. And also more secure, because we can get updated wherever we are as long as we have access to the internet. So having an environment, someone is calling.
That could have been part of the presentation, Ronni, if we just planned it better.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that next time.
I have no idea how to... there should be a mute mode for when you're doing presentation. But it's synchronizing to my PC, so I don't know. Well, with that, let's move on to the license part. I assume that most of you are either on Microsoft E3 or Business Premium. Many of you might have the E5 security or the full E5 suite from Microsoft, and that's really great. If you are a small business customer and you have the Business Premium license, Microsoft has last month actually released this new license that is a similar license as the E5 security for Business Premium customers, just as a much, much, much cheaper price. So if you don't have this already, you should definitely go home and check it out, because this is definitely something that all customers that are running business premiums should have and be invested in already. Let's take a short look at what you actually get when you buy or when you get your E5 or similar license. So normally when you manage your devices, you can either do it in the Intune portal or whatever you're using, but if you have let's say the Intune suite license as an add-on, you will also get access to device query. Device query is a simple way to query all your devices live in your environment, and it's simply by going down and selecting some of the queries or writing your own. It's really simple. So let's say we want to have a list of all our devices by OS version. Maybe we want some more detailed information. We also want the OS name because we have a different operating system like iOS, Android, Windows, etc. Run the query.
Zoom the browser a bit, right?
I can zoom
So
it.
everyone can
Is it hard to read? Is that better?
I can see.
You can see it now. Usually it will take 10-15 seconds to run this query, and this will give you some information live on what you have running in your environment. This information is something that can be exported, and or you can build your queries on it or build your groups on it. As you can see, I have a single Windows 10 device, so maybe I still have a few days to upgrade, right? Yeah. So now I have something that I can make my decision on. What I could also do is that if I have the E5 security license, I can go to security.microsoft.com and I can get my exposure score. In this environment, this is actually our production environment, so this is our exposure score right now, 37. And as you can see here, you can see the history that is going on, and I can also get some insights on what I need to focus on. And since this is an app management event, let's focus on some of the applications. And if I look at this, you can see that I have a Google Chrome with, that needs to get some attention. So if I click on that, I can see how many vulnerabilities in my environment, how many devices I have. If I click on the software page, I will get detailed information around that specific application. And in this case, you can see that I have 7 different versions. 2 of them apparently is running on a very old version, and then we have most of them are running on a fairly recent version of Google Chrome. And you can also see that my discovered vulnerabilities is more or less narrowed down to 2 of those machines. This is the kind of insights that I need to make intelligent decision in my Intune environment. Intune is a great environment to go out and build some policies and deploy some application and fix issues. But how do you prioritize this? And this is why you need this kind of insights that you get with the add-on licenses. Of course, when you have decided you want to patch this, you can build your application yourself or build a patch yourself, or you can go out to some of the sponsors at this event. We have both Patch My PC and RoboPack that will build solutions that will help you fix this. But at the end of the day, we need some kind of license in order to get that information or have a third-party solution to add it for us. It's not something that you'll get built in just the Intune license itself. Let's go back to the slide and talk a little bit about something that is very popular, at least in my organization. That's governance, that's documentations and standard. I know that this might sound boring, but I think this is where it all starts. I have seen so many tools that can automatically document everything that you have in Intune by running scripts. And it's really great because it just say, you know, this is the setting and it's set for value 47 or whatsoever. The thing is that even if it's easy, it won't give me anything that I can use to make decisions on. Because what I'm missing from those documentation is why have we configured this setting to whatever setting it is. So the why is key, and of course also the business justification is key. So having these well-documented standards, I don't know if this is readable, I'll zoom it in just a second, but here you can see that I have some policies that I've grouped in a way where it's easy to identify what we're talking about here. So in this case, it's called CP for configuration profiles 008, meaning that this is a configuration with an ID of 8, where all policies with the same name is related to the same business justification. So if we move on to another example, where in this case it's about personal data encryption, you can see that I have 6 different policies around the same configuration. The thing is that I might have different devices or different users that needs different settings or configurations, but it's still related to the same technology. But it might also be something that's because it's different policy types, so I can't just create one policy. If I remove the identifier of all my policies, it would be almost impossible to identify which policies are, tied together. So therefore, we need to have this kind of, grouping of the policies. So moving on with different examples, and of course, if you have global environment where you have people who are administrating all these things, you also need to have that in your naming standard. But let me move on to the documentation itself. And this is where I really, really, really hope that I can, make people change how they do stuff. Simply build a short document. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. In this case, you can see I have hardware security, I have identifier, and I have some different IDs. In this case, I want to enable cloud trust. I have a description of what we are building, and I have a business justification about why we are building this. And as you can see, the ID for this specific request has an ID of 4. So if I go into my configuration, which in this case is just in a simple Excel spreadsheet, you can see that I have my Windows Hello for Business that's been enabled as part of the Cloud Trust. And you can see that I have an identifier in my document saying that this is the ID that I'm referring to. So this means when I find a policy, I can go back to my documentation and see, why did we do this? Who did it? What was the business justification? And what is the potential impact if we touch this policy? I think it's very unlikely that in a medium size or large size environment that you will be able to get a full overview of your environment and completely understand it if you don't just use those 10 minutes every time you build a policy to write down why you're doing this. Once that's done, it's simply just to build the policy and deploy it. So now we have a process of deploying stuff. What about when we are removing stuff or deleting stuff? One of the things that Microsoft has recently announced is the multi-admin approval. And one of the examples that I like to implement first is the wipe or retire of a device that has been lost or stolen. Sometimes you can, be in a situation where you need to wipe a device because it's kind of the device has been lost. And if you target the wrong device, and you wipe the wrong device by mistake, this is an irreversible action. So maybe it's a good idea to have someone to approve that. You can do the same with apps today. The thing is that if you do it with apps, it's all or nothing. So if you have built-in automations like Patch My PC or RoboPack in your environment, that will actually be broken because then they won't be able to build the application itself. But with that, I think we are ready. Now we understand how to document stuff. So maybe, Jörgen, you're ready to take it off to the next part about scoping.
The switching as well.
It takes roughly 10 seconds to switch.
Yeah, so now we started all the fun stuff, right? Licensing, documentation. Can't be better in the afternoon, right? Or? No? So let's talk about something that's even more boring. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about RBAC in Intune. Who is using this today? I mean, we need to scope our stuff, right? And why do we do it? Well, we need to do it so we can actually, for me, it's about being, I was about to say being lazy, but let's put it in a better term saying provide better service for the end user. So what we want to do is we want to enable help desk and on-site technicians to solve the most common problems so I can do other things during my workday. When we do this, we normally ask as well. So how many in here have maybe spent 4 hours a week actually being proactive in the environment? Looking, do we have policy failures? Which versions do we have? No, that's exactly the problem, right? All our time is consumed by projects and issues. There's no one or very few that actually have time to be proactive, right? So what we want to do with our backing, for me, is not only about security, it's about enabling service desk and on-site to fix more, right? And when we do that, we give the end user a better service, right? So what we should do, and that's why we need RBAC, is because what we want is we want a nice view to the right with remediations, for example. So we want our service desk to be able to reset Windows Update, reinstall VPN, reinstall applications. I can show you later as well, or I will show you later, so that they can actually help the end user wherever they are. So if they have a problem, just deploy the remediation, reinstall remote help. Has anyone run remediations on demand? It's amazing, right? So it uses the Windows push notification service on the device. So basically it takes like 3 or 4 seconds before the command is executed. The problem is that the reporting back takes hours sometimes. So that's why device query together with this is what I use. So when we have an issue, I deploy remediation, then I use device query. Did it actually hit the device? So I can query it in real time and don't have to wait until I get the reports back for remediations. And then I can deploy it to everyone much, much faster, right? So we need RBAC to do this. Who has this in place today? A couple of hands. So what we need is basically, to start with, RBAC is, we have roles, what to do. We have scope tags, the objects you see. We have scope groups, the objects you target. Or what, which, and who, which we also can say, right? And this is for creating the first line role, for example. So this is the biggest problem in Intune, in my book. Because scope groups, or the biggest problem with Intune altogether, is that they gave targeting away. Who has worked with Configuration Manager in here? So we can target whatever we like in a collection based on whatever we like, right? Because we have the whole database to query. Now we gave away targeting to groups. So now we're limited to groups. And what's the challenge with groups? Well, the challenge with groups is that I can, even if I put them in a restricted admin unit, I'm not sure if everyone knows what a restricted admin unit is, but basically it cuts off inheritance. So me as a global admin can't delete the device, for example, and so on. So it's for protecting sensitive accounts, devices. So if I go to my tenant and I have, okay, let's do this as well. So let's go here. I have a tenant. I have my, I can take this one. So I'm not going to show it in the actual Intune, Entra. But if I go here, for example, it will say something like this. So even if I'm an Intune administrator, you're not allowed to take out the local admin password because it's in a protected admin unit in Entra. So that's where we put all our privileged access workstations, high security workstations, and so on, so we can protect them, right? So if I go to Entra, I can't delete that object, for example, because even if I'm a global admin, I can't delete it. You need a specific permissions, right? But the problem is that even if I have a restricted group that only Ronni can manage, Ronni can still add whatever user or device he wants in the whole tenant. So that's a big challenge for what we had before in Configuration Manager. That's also one of the biggest challenges we see, right? So we're basically protecting objects from being deleted, but we're not protecting them from adding stuff into them. So if you give someone the permissions to deploy an application to all devices, that will be all devices, depending on if you have permissions to see them in Intune or not, because it's device in Entra, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges we have. And what we want to achieve is, of course, this experience. So if I go here and I go to this little user, I selected a machine already. This is the only tasks I have. And here I have, for example, reinstall Google Chrome, reinstall remote help. So if I click that, basically, it will check if Google Chrome is installed. If it's installed, uninstall it. Run a new PowerShell task to start a new process to actually restart the IME agent. And then when I restart the IME agent, Google Chrome will come down again because I cleaned all the registry values as well. So that's the thing we want to give our end users, our service desks. So instead of they do it in another way, just give them good remediation toolbox and train them on what to do. Then they can fix it themselves. Right? So that will we're not going to wait because still takes IME. Okay, so we're not talking IME, but me and Ronni, we like to call the Intune management extension agent for the sleeping agent. Because basically what it does is wait. So when you start it, it has delayed start. And when you started it, it starts with waiting for a random value. Then it runs scripts. Then it waits for a random value again. And then it does applications. So it will still take 2-3 minutes for it to actually reinstall Chrome. But it's still much better than the options, right? Remote controlling for everything. So we need to build this little nice experience up so we have that for our service desk and everyone else. So this is another tip we have. Enable managed installer. Who is using application control for business today? No one.
No one.
Good for you. So this will be happening sooner or later, right? With all the regulations coming down, many of them, like CE+, everything, they have a little note saying, you must have a list and must restrict what's being executed on your platform to the approved applications. That's just a little line in the text, right? But that's a huge task, right? One of the options is to use application control for business. And if you haven't enabled that before, so as soon as you enable the managed installer, everything you install from Intune will have this little extra attribute on your files. So you can actually run fsutil file query extended attributes remote help, and you will see that's one called Smart Locker. And if you look in the text to the right, it will actually say program files Intune management extension. So then all the files are coming down are being tagged by managed installer. So if you want to enable application control for business somewhere in the future, it's much, much easier. But there's, of course, risks with this as well, right? So before you do it, download the slide, grab that link, and make sure that you don't have any app locker policies deployed which are not correct, because they will be, how should we put it? If you have an app locker policy for DLLs set to not configured, that's an invalid value. So when the application control for business policy is coming down, it will block all DLLs on your machine. So will it boot? No, right? It will be a nice black screen, and there will be no boot on that machine. Right? So we need to take that into account as well. So that's my 2 tips for now, Ronni. Do you want to take over again?
I think I'll try.
But have a look at the managed installer. It's actually really cool stuff and will increase security a lot.
So while the 8 second goes, while we switch the screen, how many of you is actually using AI today inside of your management environment, you know, as a daily tool to manage your devices? A couple of you, that's really good. Is anyone using AI to write code, scripts? A couple of more hands, that's good to see, yeah. So what we want to give here as our next tip is you should really start using AI, and I'll try to see if I can give you some at least in my opinion, really great way of getting started, and also some more advanced way of actually using AI in a daily base that can actually help both you and your organization and your help desk. So where most people often start is, you know, it's not like we're going in and say, hey, AI, do this and fix our job, whatever. You know, there's a lot of customers that are starting with building scripts for, proactive remediations, for example. And what we normally do is that we have an issue, we go online, we Google it, and we find a GitHub repository with a lot of scripts that will fix something similar to what we have done. So instead of doing that, we can now use, whatever AI agent that we prefer, and simply ask them to, I have this issue, can you fix it for me, and build a remediation script. Be specific when you do your prompting, like this. This is just a simple example, but, just be specific on what you want, including logging and, and how you want it built. And AI, or in this case, ChatGPT, will build something for you that's super useful and easy to use. I'll show it in a demo in just a second. I just want to give you some examples here. Remediation, and we also have some ESPs. This is an app event. So you're probably all familiar with applications being installed during the ESP sessions, machines that are rebooting and causing issues. If you're running in a passwordless environment, you can also build HTAs or some kind of user inputs. Very, very, very simple. This is not maybe not the most beautiful thing you have ever seen, but this is just something that you can see. This can be built in a very simple way. When it comes to troubleshooting, I think there's so much more potential into this. So Intune has a built-in troubleshooting or collecting of log files. So I would like to take you through the process of actually building that script that will, collect all the log files from the device and then analyze all the errors and hopefully give us a result that is useful. So let me switch back to my. Let me see if I can get this. Here we go. Should I zoom a little bit? Is this readable? Yeah, okay. So the first thing is, you probably all will know Intune, where we can go into a device, find the device, and then click on the single device, and then we can go up in the menu and select the collect diagnostic log file. If something has gone wrong on our device and we use that function, it will give you only the log files that Microsoft has specified in these location and the related event logs, etc. And if you're lucky, it might take 10 minutes, it might take an hour, it might take even longer than that. It's really, really rare to predict how fast this is going or how slow this is going. So therefore, I would highly recommend that you use also what Jörgen showed before, create your own script and use it as remediations, and then store the log files in whatever environment that you prefer. It could be a Teams site, it could be a SharePoint site, it could be an Azure storage blob or whatever, something that is easily accessible to the people or the technology that needs to take the next step. So in this case, I'll go back to my GPT, and I have, some of these prompts, as you will see in just a second, has taken very long time to run. So I built this up front. So if you see here, I have a PowerShell script that will, collect my log files. In this case, I'm just asking for the EME logs. I also have modified it a little bit afterwards. And this will simply give me a script that I can work with. Just to make this clear, if you don't know what script is and how it works, you shouldn't be using this. This is, you should understand the code, and you should read the code, and you should verify that it does exactly what you want it to do, but it will save you some time to do it. Don't just trust this code, because then funny stuff could happen. So once this is done, we can go back to my Windows machine here. I'll just connect, and you can see hopefully the code. Let me see if I can get this optimized here. And you can see here, this is actually what it built with a little bit more of prompting. So in this case, I'm simply just connecting to an Azure storage blob. It's collecting the Intune log files, but it's also collecting the Windows setup diag log files. For that, I need an executable that needs to be downloaded to run on the machine to collect all that information. What I've done is that I've created this as a script in Intune. that I can execute on my device. So if I go into my, let me see if I can find a device that I think is online. I think maybe Jan should be online now. Yeah, we'll take this device. Hopefully it's online. I don't know if it is or not. But then I'll go in here and execute run remediation and scroll down, and you can see that I have troubleshoot, collect my log files. I'll run this script, and hopefully it will start collecting the log files immediately. In my case, I have stored all my log files on this Air's storage browser here. So if I go into my file shares, go to my demo and my device logs, I don't see the device yet, but if the device is online, it should pop up here in just a second. If it's not online, I have another one that I collected this morning, this one, and you can see the Intune log file shows up here. If the device is online, you will see the log files in here within minutes, I guarantee it. It's just about how long time it will take to execute, and then how long time it will take to upload the file to this account. Once I have the log file in my position, we can start analyzing on it. And what I've done here is I have simply just took some very simple examples. And in this case, you can see that I've collected the setup diag log files from a device. This is actually a device that a customer, or log files that a customer has sent me and say, we have these devices that are, failing on upgrade. So I just prompt, Windows 10 to Windows 11 is failing on upgrade. What's happening? And then I attach the log files. You can see this took like 1 minute to analyze. And it comes to the conclusion, it's because of the missing disk space. If you think this to the next level, what about if we just automatically collect all the log files from devices where we see errors or similar errors like this, and then have an automated agent that will automatically scan all the log files? But let's say that we don't know what the issue is. What do we do then? In this case, and this is actually a quite funny scenario, because I have a customer who sent me an email last month, and I translated this to, because he sent it this in Danish, but what this says is that this is an SCCM task sequence, and Adobe Reader, VLC, and Office is not being installed. And then he sent me all of the log files. And as you can see here, for those of you who still knows what SCCM is, there's a ton of log files in here. So basically what I did is I just take the information that I get from the customer, and then I just put that into my GPT. And that actually ran for more than 10 minutes. But I only prompted it for one thing, hopefully. It would be really nice if, I just thought. So I uploaded not just the selected log files, but the entire zip file with all the log files collected. As you can see here, it ran for almost 10 minutes to go through all these log files. I don't care. Like Jörgen said, with the power consumed by GPT when that's running, we probably burnt down a whole forest or something, but that's a different thing that you have to decide if you want to work with or not. But as you can see here, it actually gives me a ton of information. And as you can see here, it's saying that, this actually looks different than what it did earlier. Now it's with code and everything. But the thing is, it's identifying what the issue is. It's also saying that, this is actually this looks completely different from when I ran it this morning.
That's generative AI. It's invented a new answer for you.
Exactly. But the thing is, if I can just scroll a little bit up here, let me just find the end of this. This is the conclusion here. Why this happened, most likely, it actually detected that I was using PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit to deploy this application. It also detected that, the PowerShell script stopped running, and then immediately after that, it was rebooting the machine because it thought the process was completed. And it gave me some suggestion to add the wait command. But the thing is, it actually also identified the 2 other applications that the customer were, complaining about that wasn't installed automatically. So all I'm saying is that if we put this to the next level and make sure that everything that we collect from these devices are being stored centrally and analyzed automatically, and just give me a simple report about what I need to focus on and how I need to fix this can really, really change how we troubleshoot and how we work with devices moving forward. So with that, Jörgen?
We need to move forward.
We need to move forward. Is this useful or inspiring?
Has anyone tried it? And again, it probably costs a whole fortune.
I just have one thing. Make sure that you use an AI technology that you trust, and don't just upload all your company organizations to public, shared, free versions of AI. Just make sure it's within a certain boundary, right?
So the last tips. Who is using driver updates in Intune and driver rings? That's one of the best things that ever happened, right? Because we don't have to care about anything anymore. It's automatic. And that's why we love it as well, of course. And it actually works. I'm working with like hundreds of customers, maybe, if we count my colleagues. We have had 2 customers twice that we actually blocked the driver because it was an issue. So I see this more like controlling that in Intune is more like we can actually block a driver if we want to. Then we actually need to allow all of them, right? But what do we need to do? Is anyone using auto patch or anything like that in here? Some hands. So we need to create our own rings for this, because we can't have the same test for drivers, because we need all our hardware represented, right? All our models if something breaks. So we need some nice query like this. And again, we gave targeting away, right? So we need to do this in entra groups. So we need a good saying that this device model, yes, it's a Lenovo model. Yes, they should have learned model names 15 years ago, but that's not about this session's topic. But yeah, that's horrible. And also have a good naming convention, so we can use like PC2. So we can get like only a few, like a handful from each model, so we actually can create a test ring for our drivers instead of updating everything at the same time, right? Is anyone doing anything like this? But that's what I really, really recommend. So we actually test it on the correct hardware. Otherwise, it's hard to say, yeah, we have an autopilot test group, autopatch test group. It's random, yeah, but you don't have a clue which hardware models are in there, right? We need to have that kind of control. That was a really fast one, right? So who is managing Edge in here? So who is using the Edge management service? No one. So welcome to the future. That's all I have to say. So what's happening is that Edge and Chrome is the same backend, right? Project Chromium. So what they've done together is built a management service. So you can actually do this for free with Google Chrome as well. So instead of using Intune, we use the admin.microsoft.com portal, where we actually have 0-day support of new settings. We can actually see exactly which versions are being used. and also, we can actually see all Intune policies as well. But what's really cool is that as soon as I sign into Edge, it's being managed. My settings are being pulled down if I deploy it on user. But what's really cool is this. We get the device dashboard with updates, but we also get something in the middle, right? Requested extensions. So who is managing extensions and fix that's horrible? So we have a new way of doing extensions. So if we enable the policy through Edge Management Service, the end user will have this nice little dialogue when they try to install an extension instead of saying just no, right? So they will actually say, okay, so do you want to do this? I want to install this. Okay, write why. And then in the back end, you will get the list. These are all the extensions being requested by the end user in your organizations. And then you can just click an extension, right, and say approve. Isn't that easy? You can also say that I want to approve every extension that doesn't require the privacy permission. then we can just auto-approve every extension that's not requiring any high privilege. And as soon as they acquire more permissions to read what you do in Edge, it's automatically uninstalled. So we can manage Edge extensions in a much, much better way. I think this is really, really, really cool, right? We can also do this. We can also control AI. We can also block third-party browsers. So there's actually a setting, just say block third-party browsers, and it will deploy an app blocker policy in Intune that blocks all third-party browsers that Microsoft decided to include, of course. I'm sure there's some loophole somewhere. But then we can actually enforce Edge as well, right? So there are some really, really cool things in there. But I think, so if you haven't checked it out, try it out, and try the extensions part, because that's what I like the most. We will give our end users like a modern extension experience. Is that even a word? So if I go to extensions, I get extensions, and we can go in and say, I want translate, I want get, and then it will say, okay, why? Why do you want this? And then you will get it in a list, right? And if you approve it, it's automatically installed. I think that's like a much better service to the end user, right, than we're providing if we just block it. Right? So have a look at the Edge Management Service. It's really, really, really cool and the future. And if you're managing Chrome as well, just sign up for a free account. Yes? Oh, yeah, sure, of course. So it's actually easy to find because it's in admin.microsoft.com and settings Edge. And you don't need Intune admin permissions. That's a different challenge. You actually need Edge admin role in Entra to do it, right? But I can get my list of requested extensions here as well. And if there's a conflict right now, if you want to test it out, Intune will win. So you will see when you write Edge/policy, it will say that two settings has come down, there's a conflict, and the setting from Intune won in the browser immediately. So it's very easy to see what's happening and who's winning. So I definitely encourage you to actually look at that. It's a really cool thing you can do now. So last tip, keeping up to date. So we said that we should write like a letter from Ronni and Jörgen that you should be more people, right? So why do we bring this up? Who saw this in Christmas time? So, and this affected all Win32 apps and PowerShell scripts in Intune, if you had a firewall blocking it, right? Do everyone see when it was published? I was on vacation. Do anyone see when it was enforced? I was on vacation again, I can tell you. But this is the picture you should take to your manager and try to explain that we are not in control of changes anymore. We are reactive. We need an organization who can handle this kind of change, right? That's the first thing I do when we talk about modernizing endpoint management. It's talk about organization, change, and way of working, because this is what you need to be able to handle, right? Otherwise, everything will stop over Christmas, in this case. So that's why I kept that screenshot since Christmas last year, and I will use it for years to come, I promise. Because it was actually one of the Microsoft subcontractors who went out of business. So that's why it ended in like 3 days, because they basically pulled the plug, right? The whole company out. So what can we do? Is anyone subscribing to this today? Again, in Admin Center, with all the things happening. But that's the old way of doing it, right? The new way of doing it is syncing it to a planner in your Teams, for example.
I have a feeling about this.
So what we can do is we can actually sync everything from what's happening and what's new and what's coming to a planner in your Teams, right? So when you have your daily stand-ups or any way how you work, you will actually get that in there immediately, right? So if I go to my planner here, hopefully, if Teams want to be of course, why not setting things up? I've seen that dialogue a couple of times. So if I go to infrastructure team, I go to general, I have something called 365 health. We switch it to list view, and we can see everything that's coming down that you need to take action on. And you can see that Ronni already said, I will do all of this for you, Jörgen, so you can do something more fun during the day. Talking about what we said before, right?
I'm not responsible of signing this. I think someone put this on me.
I don't know. I have no clue who could have done that. But never mind, this is actually how we want to do, right? So instead of just getting an email, just sync it to the Teams site for a planner and assign the task to someone. So someone actually can, okay, look at it and say, okay, this is bad, this is good. It will actually sync down the due dates as well, when you must have taken action as well. So again, a really good tip, I think, and a good, maybe not Intune, but it's well hidden, the planner sync, right? Is anyone syncing the planner today? Because it's really, really good. So have a look at that when you get back. And with that, I think we're out of time as well, right?
And we are only 1 minute.
Okay, that's a new record. Okay, that's a new record. So thank you for listening to us, and I hope you got some new stuff to do.